So I had a ruptured ulcer and I almost died, and I went to ICU, and the doc said, all your blood levels are clean, everything's great. Dang. And he said, but I said, what do you think it is, doc? And he said, well, he says, you got to slow down.
You got to slow down. Chaotic
we
life.
Have a chaotic life. You got to slow down. And I remember sitting in the hospital bed and thinking how much I pressed, how much I strive to make something flow. And this was the kicker. I think God literally hit me in the face and said, did everything work out?
Hey, Freedom family. Welcome to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast. My name is Kira Miller. I am the founder and host of this series. Every other week, we'll bring you some of the most life-giving conversations that will empower you to overcome your shame, own your truth, and unlock your freedom. Thank you for joining this conversation today. Now let your freedom journey begin. Hey, Freedom family. Welcome back to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast. My name is Kira Miller, and I am the founder and host of this series. Today's guest, we had my doctor, Dr. Motley, who I am stoked to share his story with you because every time I'm in his office, we just have such a deep, life-giving conversation. So today we talked about how he went through so much of his life striving for things, striving for success, trying to create success, and then learned that actually through surgery and almost losing his life, that he actually was missing out on so much of his life by striving for everything instead of just being and just doing things that he wanted to do instead of doing things that he ought to do. So he really found rest in that, which I've just been feeling so much of in my life lately, asking myself, Kira, what is it that you actually want to do instead of choosing what I should do or what I ought to do or what I feel like someone is telling me to do. So I just encourage you with that today. Really let this challenge you and sink in. What is it that you want to do? And I'm super stoked to share this one with you today. So if you really feel shame about this and you desire freedom in it, it's going to help you. And here we go. So who was Chris Motley in the beginning of your journey with shame?
In my first experience and the actual feeling of shame, I go back even further. I think that shame can come through your genetic line. I think it comes through your family. And hopefully not to get too long-winded, I think that there's a genetic blueprint, an energetic blueprint that your family, your grandmother, your mother, your father, they could have experienced shame in their life. And this is the cool thing, that when a person in your genetic line experiences shame, it forms programs within them, and their nervous system and their body actually creates new nerve pathways to carry the signal of shame.
Yeah.
And they actually get used to either they received shame or giving shame, and the body actually creates chemistry, biochemistry, chemicals that perpetuate the signals over and over and over again. So as they pass that information along, the children will experience it and create the same programs if they're not careful. All that to say, I think that my first experience of shame was during church time. Now, I am not blaming church or against church. I go to church, and I'm thankful for it. I think the idea of expectations and desires are very misused and very misguided within the church today and in the religious realm. And for instance, I may have a desire to fulfill something in my life to bring fruit and to bring happiness. Yeah. But then I have a perception that maybe somebody expects something of me that I can't fulfill.
Yes. Okay.
So when I was younger, all that to say, I was set up by my genetic traits because my father and my mother were very hard on themselves. They had family members that were hard on them, high expectations. So off the bat,
so they carried that too.
They carried it off, with them. And I was very tough on myself in school. Okay. Very tough on myself in school. And there became an idea or an energy around it that when I say go to church, that there was a high expectation placed upon me spiritually. And then I already had this genetic trait that was passed on to me and made me very hard on myself in school. So I had double whammy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So I would keep the idea or the practice of shame in perpetual motion because I go to school, high expectations from my family. Then on the weekends you go to church and go, have you done everything good enough to get something good in return?
Okay.
That's my first experience with shame, and no blame to my parents and no blame to the church. It's how I perceived it. So I say expectation, desire. My desire is to be the best I can be.
Yes.
That's that's a thing I need in my life.
Yeah.
But then I mix it up with expectation, like I have to fulfill this to be happy.
Yes.
Instead of saying I want to fulfill this to be happy.
Yeah. So what do you feel like your kind of like your spiritual / psychological needs were growing up? And like, because we'll come back to this at the end too and say like, how do you feel like those needs have been met? But like starting out, like what did you feel like those needs were?
With desire?
Yeah.
I'd say that the needs I had mirrored the needs that my parents desired.
Totally, which makes sense.
For instance, my mom, this is no knock. I love my mom, I love my dad. My mom is a chronic worrier, but
I think mine
she's
too.
Most mothers are.
Yeah.
She would be scared, but she was one of those individuals who was a high achiever. That's a very high achiever.
Yeah.
But she was so worried all the time about what would happen in the future. Can I meet a demand?
Yes.
And so that came into my life. The need I created was I have to accomplish this goal to create some form of happiness in my life.
Yeah, totally.
Flip over to my dad. My dad had an issue with, he doesn't know it. He probably does. But with my grandfather put a lot of favor into my uncle.
Okay.
So my dad didn't have, I don't think, the love that he needed or wanted when he was younger. And he was always trying to meet expectations or prove himself or be good enough.
Right.
And those two combined. So I would worry about not meeting people's expectations or their approval. You see that crazy? Like my mom had worry issues. My dad had complete approval issues. And they mixed. And it came on to me. Now, this is a cool thing.
That's a lot of stress.
And a lot of stress. Like if you look at like your siblings, you could see that maybe one of you're like your mom or your dad.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy that my sister has a lot of tendencies like my mom. She'll worry a lot.
Okay.
My brother has a lot of tendencies like my dad.
Yeah.
Approval. But I am the literal mix.
Wait, what birth order are you?
I'm the third. I'm the baby. Anyway, that's how. But my needs and my were never really met.
Okay. Totally.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Because when you have high expectation on yourself, and in that realm, you'll never meet them because you're not fully aware of who you really are. Yes.
So how is that playing out, like in school, in your relationships, all that kind of stuff? You're kind of diving into it already.
No, I love it. I believe that in anything, since we are pre-programmed, since I am pre-programmed, for instance, in a relationship or a work relationship, when I first go into it, I have to be very mindful because I already believe that I'm not approved.
Right.
I go into it believing I'm not approved.
Go into all those things.
Every single situation, because remember, if we're programmed by the age of 2 to believe we're not approved, or you're going, well, I have to meet now the expectation to be approved.
Right.
And then as time goes on, you go, well, I have to worry about it because it became my norm. So everything that's programmed within you when you're very young, that's your normal now. Right?
Absolutely.
So at a very, very young age, I've become programmed, attuned, accustomed, and now I see it as I go into any relationship, any situation, that the first thing I think about the other person is, A, they don't really know me, and they don't really approve of what I do, right?
Yep,
and then you go, now I have to worry about how they see me.
Yes.
And I've had to, present day, I'm 40, and I get to the point now where I'm like, you got to get over that, man. And I will say that
you got to break the cycle.
I've broken a lot of that cycle now, and I'm thankful because I don't care as much, but I say it in a loving way. I don't care as much anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, no, you're just being your total self, and you're like
yes.
being full in that, which is so cool.
I love the idea of full awareness.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so key. I'm
Right.
learning that right now in my life. If you're aware of something,
Yeah.
you're going to have power over it.
That is
You
so
can.
good. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
When you become so fully aware of even one aspect of your life, it's you dropped all the guards, and it's almost like jumping into a river. It's to the point where when you jump into a river and you go with the flow,
Yeah.
the current will take you where it's supposed to go.
Yep.
But you're not trying to swim upstream and go against the flow.
Right.
The power came into the decision to jump into the river.
Yes. So true.
It's like I took power over this. I'm going to go with the flow. Why? It's because I'm not going to waste energy by swimming upstream or downstream. I'm just going to flow through with it.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
You take power over. That's a great analogy. Good job.
Yeah.
I love that.
What can I say? I feel like I learned from you. I feel like, seriously, our
We have the best
sessions
conversations.
are literally life-changing. It's insane.
No, I'm
Which-
telling you, whenever we talk about something, I always
Yeah.
talk, it's like the beef jerky of conversations.
What is that?
It means that you
All
just
the
chew
meat?
on it and you just can chew on it
Yes.
for a while, you know?
Literally feel the same.
I hope nobody just hates that analogy, but I think I like it. Anyway.
If we have some vegans. I didn't think about that.
Sorry, vegans. Love you guys.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, well, what do you feel like? So growing up, it sounds like you kind of went into all these relationships like with these kind of, I guess, like expectations that these people maybe weren't going to accept you. So within that, what were like the voices in your head saying to you when you went into, let's say you tried out a relationship, maybe it was a friend or maybe it was like an intimate relationship. What was that voice in your head saying to you?
I would say that when I felt or heard or the impressions, the voices, that really hit me hard according to my culture and my ethnicity.
Yeah.
My mom's Korean, Chinese, and she's Asian, and my dad's Anglo. He's got a lot of Irish and Scottish within him. And my brother experienced a lot of racism when he was young, and so did my sister, because we grew up early age in Georgia. And I'm not putting down any area of the country.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, my brother spent a lot of his time trying to protect me, and he would get into fights with anybody that would mess with us.
Yeah.
And when you experience that at a young age, the voices within your head, you have people that would come up and make jokes about like how your eyes look or the way your mom looks different. And truly, you wouldn't think that it would come as a clear voice. It's just like people are looking at you because you look different.
Okay.
And the voices in your head kind of set you up in that way. So
Yes,
you had the
you're
programming
different.
when you're a kid. And as I got older, I literally would have a small chip on my shoulder thinking that I may not be able to be within this group of friends because I'm the different one out and here.
So you literally always felt different.
I always kind of felt different.
Okay.
And I'm not saying I was special.
Yeah.
I just felt different.
Yeah.
And anytime you go into
get
a
that.
relationship, anyone, business, romantic, I had to fight that voice in my head saying, if something didn't work out, it's not because of your ethnicity, right? It trains you to believe a lie because you're then taking on the responsibility
Yes.
of saying, I expect them to think of me in a certain way. It's like, that is none of my responsibility, how they think or not. It's like, let that go.
Yeah.
But those are the voices in my head, complete building upon my ethnicity and then moving through life
So you're
going.
different. You're never going to belong. You're always going to be alone, probably.
Exactly. And that's the hardest thing in our culture
Yep.
is we all want community in some fashion.
Yep.
We want a culture.
Yep.
And anything that pulls us
We wanna
away is like,
belong.
yep. And
Yeah.
we all want that time away. We're like, well, I need my alone time.
Yes.
We all want somebody to go, I love you,
Yep. Absolutely.
care about you. And anything, any kind of belief, any type of trait, any type of perpetual motion that pulls me away from that,
Yeah.
that it hits in our heart. That creates fear. It's like, nobody's going
absolutely.
to take care of me or be around me. And
Yeah.
so I see that happening and happened in my life
Yeah.
for a very long time, into my 30s. So,
Dang. Okay. Well, I was just going to ask, like, where do you feel like it was kind of the worst for you?
I think age-wise, it was really in my early 30s. I always go with my instinct, what it hits into my head, my early 30s. So my early 30s was I was getting my office set up and moving. And
Which tell people a little bit about what you do.
I do chiropractic, kinesiology, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and frequency medicine. So basically, in a nutshell, we at the office use acupuncture points, which is Chinese medicine, which are energetic pathways in the body. and we
The
use
meridians?
the
Is that-
meridians, they
okay,
call
cool.
them. They're like highways, guys. Highways are rivers of energy
Yeah.
that run through the body. And I study and analyze the neurology, the nerves that run through the body. And all the nerves and all the muscles and all the bones all
Yeah.
have electrical current running through them.
Okay.
All of them do. So let's compare us to a house. House have wires that run through the walls, and they connect to an outlet. Now, the amount of current, electricity, electrons passing through the wire,
Yeah.
right, determine or create a magnetic field around the wire. So the more the current that flows through the wire, the bigger the magnetic field.
Yes. Yep.
All right? So in frequency medicine, if there's ever a blockage or a hindrance to the flow,
Yeah.
it can shrink the magnetic field or expand it very big.
Okay.
Most of the time, it shrinks it. So this is how it works. I'm the guy that comes along and helps open up the block so
Sick,
that
okay.
current can run right through. And then the body does what it wants to do on its own.
Which is adjustments. That's what that does.
Yes.
Okay.
Heals the body on its own. Your own innate intelligence will allow energy, blood flow, lymph nodes to flow, or lymph to flow in a way
Yeah.
to heal the body. That's what I do. So
Okay.
I hope I didn't get off track right
No,
there.
no, no. I'm glad you talked about that. Because,
I-
like, even for me, like, I mean, I see you once a month for that. Exactly. And I somewhat understand what you're saying half the time. And then the other half, I'm like, I don't know what he's saying, but but I'm literally like, but I trust him. So I don't care.
Exactly. I tell you, I
So
appreciate
it's
it.
good to know.
It is
Yeah.
good to know. Like, so at early age of 30, the reason being is because you work your hardest
Yeah.
to achieve a goal and to meet an expectation, try to find
Yep.
and try to approve myself. And then it starts to pull over. You get to a point where you get so tired that you go, heavens, I've got to meet more expectations and be approved even more. We talk about
Yep.
this.
Oh, all the time.
Think about it, it's like people who go from grade school to middle school to high school. You're down at the bottom of the pecking order,
Right.
right? So when I didn't feel accepted or approved, I in myself would become a loner. And
Okay.
I like when we talk about this, my
Yep.
personality type, if they say it's a 9 or a Enneagram or a peacemaker,
Yes. Yep.
I'm always worried about how everybody interacts with each other, but I always say, I'm okay. I can go off by myself.
So you never really know your needs.
Never knew my needs.
Okay.
So at that early age, I didn't want anybody to help me.
Okay.
So I try to run the whole, and I did, ran the whole practice by myself,
What?
did everything by myself, scheduling, treating patients. And this is no way to brag. I'm saying this is not smart. I would go to the office around 6 a.m., try to get things set up, and treat till about 8 p.m. And sometimes work even on Saturday and Sundays, trying to get business to roll because I had an expectation
Yes.
and trying to meet that demand.
Absolutely.
So that in itself, hard work is great, but it wasn't the smartest work.
No. And the body needs to rest.
It has to rest.
Yeah.
And the hardest part of the early 30s is when I started to get Lyme infection. I got Lyme
right.
disease,
Okay.
full blown.
Okay.
And knowing this, before it got full blown, I'm saying all the stress, all the adrenal stress, the thyroid stress was taking its effect on me, and my mood went lower and lower and lower. And now when we talk about shame, not only could I not meet the demand that the patients put on me,
Totally.
I couldn't even meet my own expectations because I didn't even know what was going on in my own head. So I felt shame about it. I felt like I'm not really good enough to do this, and I may have to stop doing what I do. And really, so I know it's a lot to say, but there's so many
but it makes sense.
facets to this, to working in a clinic in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did you have Lyme's?
I know I've had it since probably about 14 or 15. So I was 31, 32 when it really got full blown, like in that
Dang.
span. Because I got
Really?
bit up by ticks when I was like in that age, when I in the woods. And
Okay.
I had the symptoms. Now that I know what they are,
Yeah.
I had them when I was younger. And I was always chronically tired and fatigued. and
Okay. Does it ever really go away?
that's a big question. If you do a lot of research about Lyme infection, they say that it never goes away. But this is healthcare, and how we look at health in general should be viewed on how strong is your immune system. Does it ever go away? You can never say that you're going to get every single bacteria or parasite or anything out of your blood. What you do want to say is you want to heighten, strengthen your immune system to any time it comes
To
out of the
fight it.
tissue to kill it.
Yeah.
Does it all go away? I've had many patients, and I myself, that don't show any more signs, or people that don't have any signals in their blood work.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
really, or the antibodies for it.
Yeah.
So that it shows that it can go away. Now the toxins are the hardest.
Okay.
So, I know that's not the subject matter, but
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like within that, basically you were starting to see that your body and your mind needed to rest. And by rest, I don't just mean like you need sleep. It's you need to stop striving and you need to just start being.
Oh.
Is that how it was?
That's beautiful.
Well, that's what I'm learning right now in my life.
That is so good.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Like when the whole mindset of being where every step in your journey is the present step.
Yes.
You literally wipe away like basically the expectations and the worry about your future and then your regret of your past.
Yeah.
Putting yourself, like you say, striving is just what it is.
Yeah.
It just wears so much energy. And this is how
so
I always go back to neurology. I know this is the nerd in me coming out. But when you have an expectation or a regret, you've trained your brain and you've created a hardwire in your brain to continuously feed that pattern with electricity, with a signal. And those connect to the energy producers in your body, like your thyroid and your adrenals. And
that's why they shut down.
you strive because your body will strive to keep that program going.
Yeah.
And that's why you break down.
Okay.
See? And then you say, and being, they've shown in research, is when people practice meditation, prayers, deep prayers.
Being in the present.
Being in the present. They increase the theta frequency, the prayer mechanism, which actually increases the size of the pineal gland in your brain. Whoa. And you're more receptive to the prayers and to the intuitive, they say, forces or energies from somewhere.
Okay.
And it actually feeds your brain and actually heals your cortisol levels and your adrenals.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love this stuff.
Yes.
Anyway.
No, it's so good. Well, and when you started realizing that you didn't have to strive anymore, you just needed to be in the present. Yeah. Was that like really exposing for you? Because I mean, that's a whole new way of thinking, probably, than what you were used to.
Yeah, it did. It changed my life. Where when you get exposed or uncover a situation, and I remember we talked about when we were going to come and do this. One of my initial shames is I have such higher expectations on myself at times that not even being aware or coming to an awareness till I'm later in life, it was hard on me. Like, to get back to it, like you, for instance, and my assistant Blaze and my friends, really, truly, they're like late 20s, early 30s, my friends, and they are really aware. Like they strive. And
we really are.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. And I say that with all thankfulness, that they'll tell me things and you'll tell me things. I go, wow, they're aware of where they're at, being present. Yeah. And I was never that way. Yeah. I shot for future expectation. Okay. But having to uncover and pull off that facade was, I almost got to a point where I had to even talk to God, where as I let go that whole feeling of like, I'm going to strive for this, I've got to make this demand. I'm thankful I wasn't, I say there's an issue between being careful and full of care. Yeah. I'm saying the full of care feeling like, I didn't care anymore.
Of course.
Yes.
Because you're depleted.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when when it built up, the only place I could go was let go of the weight. Okay. And I think that, to get long-winded, I had a surgery about a year and a half ago. Okay. About end of 2017. So I had a ruptured ulcer and I almost died. And I went to ICU. And the doc said, all your blood levels are clean. Everything's great. Dang. And he said, but I said, what do you think it is, doc? And he said, he says, you got to slow down.
You got to slow down. Chaotic life.
We have a chaotic life. You got to slow down. And I remember sitting in the hospital bed and thinking how much I pressed, how much I strived to make something flow. And this is the kicker. I think God literally hit me in the face and said, did everything work out? And I was like, yep. Like that. Did everything come to where it is now, but you were always taken care of? And I went, yes.
And likely better than what you imagined yourself.
Every single time, Kara. You know that. And it almost makes me well up because at the end of it, I thought I was just hallucinating and seeing things in my head, but I thought I saw somebody sitting at the base of my bed.
What?
And it was a guy, and I thought, well, I think I'm hallucinating on the medication.
Yeah.
And then it was like he turned around and he goes, "What do you want to do?" And I went, "This is the crazy thing." I even paid attention to the words.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Right. Absolutely.
It's like,
because he cares about our desires.
yeah, you. It's like,
Yeah.
not asking about what your mom wants to do,
Yep.
what your dad wants to do,
So true. I didn't even think about that.
right? It's like your identity.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? It's like your true self, unconditioned self. It's like
I
tear
think
off.
I'm going to ask myself that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Isn't that crazy? Because
Yeah.
look, I'm at the bottom of the barrel now.
Yeah.
Like I literally couldn't eat for a week. I was just completely, and so it's like you had to come all the way down here for you to tear off all the layers of who you thought you were,
Totally.
right? And then I go, I want to have fun.
Okay.
The
So what
first
did that look
response,
like?
fun was expressing myself in the way I wanted to when I was a child,
Yes. Okay.
right?
Yep.
I was always drawing, and I always loved art. And I have to give complete kudos to my assistant, Blaze. She
Absolutely crushes
like
it.
whenever she does my style and design, and really like even the way now, like if I want to dress a certain way or the way I want to present myself, I was like, I probably was a pretty odd kid. Like I like different things, you know?
Yeah,
You know what
totally.
my grandmother used to tell me? This is a funny thing. At one point in grade school, the expression about now I think about when I was a younger kid, how do I create fun and how do I let that come out? So I try to remember
Yeah.
old events. My grandmother goes, she called me Jaybird.
Okay.
She said, only people I talked to when I was a kid was my relatives. So they say you chirp like a jaybird. And so she goes, what do you want to wear? And she goes, for almost 35 minutes, I would go, nope, 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 nope. And when she goes, well, I guess you're going to have to go to school naked. And then I got so mad at my grandmother. I was like, Nana.
Yeah.
And I got mad and I didn't talk to her for like a week because I was so like, like my own person. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
all that to say, how did I like perpetuate this new thought of having fun was expressing not only my artistic side, but it was fun to know more about me.
Yeah, for sure.
So much more fun.
Yeah.
It's a bore
Oh,
to sit there and figure out what somebody else thinks about themselves or what they
Right.
think about you. I'm like, wow. And this is a cool thing. The more I became aware of me, I was more in tune to how other people felt about like
100%.
themselves. You're like, I see it in you because I see it in me. Like,
Right.
I know you hurt because I felt the same hurt.
Yeah.
So I expressed my fun and my style.
Yeah.
Even at work, doing videos. And I'm
So you weren't really doing any of that before?
Oh, no, not
Okay.
at all. We didn't do any type of videos. And the first thing that I talked to Blaze when she first came into the office, I mean, we first started like in March, I believe, like 2018, I think. And it's like, what do you want to do? She's like, I said, I do want to have fun. And she goes, what do you want to do that? I said, well, I have an artistic side. I'd like to express it, but I have patience and people I love that I can't get enough information out because we have too many people coming in or
Totally.
trying to come in. And she says, well, let's get the information out there. I said, well, maybe we can do videos. She goes, you want to do videos? She's like, yeah. And then so she literally takes her phone out and goes, well, sit down here. Let's go. I have no idea how to do video. Never done them in my
You're
life.
like, wait, too fast. Too
Yeah,
fast.
you know, it's
Put
like
it
there's
away.
some people who are naturally like when you ask a question, I
Yeah.
can tell you've already thought
It's
like
just
it's
natural.
natural to you.
Yeah.
It wasn't really natural to me. The way I learn
Okay.
is I'm more of a consistency. I have to do it a few times before it actually becomes
Okay.
good. But that became fun
But
in the
talking
office.
for you is natural, right?
Talking is, and so is dancing.
Yes, which you, oh
That's
my
what I
gosh,
do
I
in
love
the-
every
in the-
time you do. Yes.
I always dance,
Yes.
and so I love to dance, and
Yeah.
so we mix talking, video, and dancing.
And fun.
And you know what that does to us? I mean, you and I, it's that when we talk about things that create fun is you have to create the patterns of fun and enjoyment and joy because it literally builds the frontal portions of your brain.
Yeah.
And I had to keep that in mind because I would always sabotage myself to not try and have fun.
Okay.
So I'm thankful I mixed fun into the office because it perpetuates happiness,
Yeah.
sheds off my exterior self, my
And
facade.
Like, do you call us patients, clients? I don't know. I don't want to say
No,
that.
I just say, I just say friends.
Okay,
It's
friends.
like, yeah.
Well, it makes us like think about all of that stuff and have fun too. I mean, I literally have a blast every time I go in the office. Like, it's so different, which I don't want to knock on like old doctors that I had and stuff, but like I didn't really enjoy going to the doctors before, but now it's like a life-changing experience because every time I go in there, I'm like, one, we're going to talk about deep things. Two, we are going to have fun,
Yeah.
whether it's with you, whether it's with Blaze, Brett now too. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just fun.
It's just fun. And
Yeah.
I feel that people, and you and I see it, people heal the most when they're smiling, when they have fun.
Yep.
And it is a happy fun, a fun that actually will build their body because there's different types of stresses. So point in case, when a patient comes in, and you and I experience it every day, truthfully, there are times when patients come in and they're so sad and they're such downers. Yeah. Can I say that?
Yeah.
And they can be, in a sense, negative, that you can spend all your energies in trying to bring them up.
Totally.
But when we have kinships and you have culture and companionships where people are there and they go, no matter what kind of bad mood I'm in or something, it's like, I want to make this life-giving. Yeah, and we want to create that culture. It's like, it's going to be fun and we want to create joy, but be life-giving. Yeah. And I was under the assumption that expectation, trying to meet a demand, the shame portion of it was that if I couldn't make somebody feel a certain way when they came in, then it was on me.
Okay.
Right? Your relationships, your friendships, she's like, well, they're in a bad mood. If I can't make them happy, I didn't do my job.
Which props us up quite a bit, too.
Exactly right. The crazy
we need
thing
to humble
is,
ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, like when we talk, like me and you, when we talk in the office, the cool thing is when we do stress work or any type of emotional work, I find that we know ourselves, become more aware, and we want to perpetuate the God-given characteristic and traits that are in us. For instance, you're very well at communicating. We're friends. We're starting off good friends, and you care about people. And I think God, divine, wants to push that avenue of care, and but He wants you to express it in the way you should express it. If you don't express it the way you want to, it becomes a total drag. Totally. So if you want to express yourself by doing podcasts and doing things, you're like, this is natural to me. Yeah, I love it. But if you put it into another realm, it completely fatigues you. It
shuts me down.
It shuts you down.
100%.
Then you start to blame yourself and get shame. Yeah. Because you go, well, it's robbing me of personal time or my own self-care, my self-worth and value. And then you go, well, if it's doing that, I could either get angry or exhausted or have trust issues or not believe people when they tell me, like, I'm a good person. Yeah. And you'll get anxiety.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm realizing, too, right now is sometimes it's like the thing you're best at that you don't necessarily want to do that much. Exactly. And it's kind of sad because you're like, but I'm really good at it, so I should do it. Yeah. And it's typically like the more safer route, I feel like, than, like, for example, what I want to do with my entire life is just my podcast. Like, that's what I want to do. But I don't make money with it right now, so I'm like, well, I have to fund it in some way. But I'm really learning right now that, one, it's because I don't believe in the podcast enough, and two, it's like figure out a way to combine the things so that you can make money through your podcast, but also utilize this like digital strategy thing that I do.
That's beautiful. No, that's true. I think that that you just saying like you want to use podcasts as your platform of who you are.
Because it's fun.
It's so
I love
fun.
doing
You're great
this.
at it.
Yeah.
And I think that every step though, that the hardest steps, like when you get to the point where you can do a podcast full time, the amount of gratitude that is built up over your life because you realize all the hard time you went through.
Right. Absolutely.
The shame of thinking you could do it on your own.
Oh gosh.
And how God like puts it in there and goes, you know what? You went through that time of, and I don't say it towards you or me, of our selfishness, thinking I could accomplish it. And it's like the whole why it was orchestrated, like energy had to move in a certain way. Yep. And you get to that point, and then you go, I can be fully in what my desire and characteristics. The cool thing is that whenever we're doing the hard times, right? Yeah. The things we got to do to fund the things that we want to do. Yep. It's like, I'm not doing what I really want to do, but that's hunger.
So true. It is developing a total hunger in me, for sure.
It's a hunger. It's like, that's what breaks leaders. That's what makes people passionate is hunger.
And like what I didn't realize until kind of recently is I know everything that I need to do for my podcast because I am like a digital strategist for musicians and stuff like that. Like I'm literally learning everything that I need to make my podcast successful. I just have to take that and apply it to this and start believing in it. Like that's the biggest thing for me.
That is it. That's the key. You go through the hard times. You build up all the emotions, all the experiences, and you identify those experiences in others, and you know how you can help them heal through it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you put belief behind it.
Yeah. And it's so powerful.
You just put a little gas in the car after a while. You're like, oh, I got the car. It just didn't have gas.
Yeah. And so do you feel like that's kind of what your season of life of like not striving anymore ended up being, was you started just believing in God.
That's right.
And trusting in God to provide for you when you didn't even have the energy.
Oh, it had to be that, because there is no other way that after getting sick, I thought I didn't want to do it anymore or do anything anymore. But it was that event where when you're so stripped and that it is only that God could make it work.
Totally.
And I'm going back to the analogy that I remember that I had to visualize myself jumping into a river.
Okay.
And I was a little kid that goes, I just want to go swimming, but I don't want to, but I say this, it's like, but putting my own energy into it, I don't want to do it. You ever know those people that go into, they float down a river? That's what it's like, just float down the river. And I had to do this. Every bump, every turn, every hard part in the river or wherever you're at in your life, I have to believe that culminates, the energy behind it is going to take you to an experience or to what you love to do and allow you to express it.
Totally. I couldn't agree more.
It has to express itself. That's how that's how yin and yang flow.
Yes.
The pull, the push, the give and take.
Yeah.
And that's how the universe runs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, same. I share the same opinion. Well, and like within this too, I think one of the most important things that I'm learning about my life about fun is that it is something that we kind of forget about after, like, I don't know. I mean, I had a pretty fun childhood. Like, I maybe didn't get like the most out of my childhood because I think I was kind of worried about like the future and that kind of stuff. But when I was like a child, like I had so much fun. And then I just kind of gave it up earlier than most people, I feel like, because I was like, I want to be successful and that kind of stuff. But I'm starting to get back to that place where I just want to play. And one of the most important like lessons that I've ever learned is there is a huge difference between work and play. Like, even if you love what you do, you have to like sometimes stop doing that so you can just genuinely play, which is sometimes as simple as, I don't know, like hitting a baseball or something. Like, it's just something that's like kind of mindless. That's like, well, that takes a little bit of strategy.
True. I love the mindless part because I think that truly when you have the mind of a child and perpetuate fun. I was reading a report, and I think we posted about it, but it's by Psychology Today, where it says that you have to make fun a part of your daily life. And the thing is, you have to schedule it. Yeah. And the definition, you just said it, was an act that just takes the mind out of planning, that you get sheer endorphin and dopamine release from. And they say it goes back to your childhood. The reason you do that is because you had no restraint on, they call it the archetype. Okay. When you were a kid, you took off any facade. It's like, I'm going to take the action route to make us have the happiest times. And when psychologists say that if you can take that childlike fervency and then go and put it into a select amount of time throughout your week, it basically builds up energy so you can go work.
And that is the most important thing I'm learning too, is like, if you don't rest, you will not be productive in the rest of your life.
Not at all.
So you need it.
You need it. And there's the difference. We talk about eustress, like good stress. Eustress is good stress and bad stress is distress. Right. And scientists say, like, if you build eustress, fun, you will actually build your body with cortisol and cortisol and adrenaline instead of break it down. And so whenever you get into a good stressful situation, hiking, having fun, going to comedy shows, you actually build your body. Dang. And cells increase metabolism, increase communication, help detoxify the body. I'm like, you have to have fun. And if you don't use that part of your brain, you'll die. Yeah. Dang. You just said it. It's like, it's just fun. You just want to have fun. Yeah. And like you said, belief. I think when you say, if you can believe that you want to do something you love to do, to communicate, but allow that childlike expression or fervor to come out, I think it this way. You strategize in a way like, quote, an adult. Okay. But your passion behind it is like that when you're a kid. A child, Okay. It's like, why am I doing this? You're like, because I love doing this and I want to do this. Like,
not to meet other people's expectations, which is just circling around to everything in your life.
Exactly right. See, and then you think, well, all the minutia, all the stuff that in a sense I don't enjoy, as you get older and want to have more fun, you will find a way to give that to somebody who loves doing that.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And that's how you perpetuate fun.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the same gifts like you say in the office.
Mm-hmm.
People that work with me, they're great at what they do.
Oh,
they're the best.
absolutely.
And I can't, and I'm like, me trying to do that?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing I'm good at is I'm decent at talking on camera, but I work on folks and I treat people.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully teach, because that's what you're supposed to do in the office is teach.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I say for you, keep going with that, because your belief will keep perpetuating it.
Yeah.
And all those small steps you'll see.
And so it sounds like trust in God, and also start trusting in other people. Like, open yourself up to
That's right.
release that stress from you and just trust in everything externally.
Oh, and I think it shows in our spirituality. I think that when you trust in God and that you lose control to where it's going to be guided, it shows and it almost mirrors to what you should do with other people. Don't try to control them. The thing is, they have their own relationship with God, with divine, and it is their path, their journey. It's like, I have no responsibility in their journey. I'm there to walk beside them and help them if they need it.
Right.
But I think it's a great idea. It's like when you lose control and jump into the river, your expectations of other people just drop, and you go, well, you know what? I'm going to just love you.
Yeah.
Because you are you. And I've noticed that the more expectations I lose for other people, the more my love for them increases.
Yeah.
And I just, and it's just, and I'd rather live a life, wouldn't you and I both rather live a life where I get tired. I always tell myself, don't live in spite.
Okay.
I'd rather live in love.
Yep.
Because spite just comes from shame. I mean, it really does. It's like, you know what? I have a high expectation on myself. I should do this, and you should do the same thing. And I go, gracious, man. I talk to myself all the time. I'm like, drop that.
Yeah. Have some mercy for yourself and for other
It's
people.
like, you don't have to prove what they do. I'm just like, love them as a person, love yourself, but I'm like, jump in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there ever times where you kind of like fall back into those temptations though? And if you do, what sort of like gets you out of that?
I do. I think the tendency for me to fall back into it is
what's the trigger? I
the
guess
trigger
is a good question too.
When we perpetuate, or when we see the fruits of becoming more aware, like, of who we are. Like, again, I say, like, I love when people are okay with each other, when everybody in the group, of all my friends, everybody's loving on each other, everybody's happy. But I have a tendency to fall into being like, I have to become perfect so that everybody else is okay. Like, I need to keep it all together. My problem is this, that whenever in my job, in my work, that I'm expected, people come in because they want to get fixed. I have a high demand on myself. So when I fall back into it, it's because I have a thought where a person should be feeling in a certain amount of visits into my office. When I get into the rut of saying, well, you should be better in 6 visits, 6 treatment therapy sessions, I have to keep myself from saying that.
Okay.
That's the same kind of thought where you would say, like, in a year or 2, I need to be here in a certain place. Now, it's okay to have a plan and a goal. But I literally have a vision that they are better in 6 visits. But I literally leave it into the hands of something bigger than I.
So you don't have to say it, you're saying?
If they get to where if they're not fixed in 6 visits, I do it as, I don't take it as shame. I take it as a learning experience. I go, they are learning something in their life if I gave my best. And I could fall back into the whole routine when I set too many limitations on myself. Limitations. That's it. All these structures. And so that's it. And how do I pull myself out of it? Oh, my word. I have a lot of things that pull myself out of it. The most corny thing I can do is I'll dance by myself. I'll dance by myself.
In front of a mirror?
Oh,
no?
Yeah. You know why? Because I want to see if I can pop and lock and see how good. It's like, I got this. You know why? Because I have to tell myself, what did you like to do when you were a kid? What can put you back into the mindset of a kid?
Important.
Do that action. Or when I was a kid, everybody said I was good at making imitations or types of voices. So I will find myself doing more imitations. Like, to try to pull me back in, because I want to do this. yes, this life is serious at some points, but I also tell myself, don't take it too seriously.
It's got to be fun.
And like I say, that's how I get myself out of it. Literally put myself back into the mindset as a child.
So cool.
And that comes to being aware, right? We were talking about it. If you're more aware of how you were as a kid, we talk about the Enneagram, right? The Enneagram's like, how do you know your number?
Right.
I always tell my patients, how were you like a kid? Because that expresses your number, like the healthy portion of you, like how you want to express it. So if I go back in that healthy portion, then that pulled me right back out of that whole routine of being shamed because I didn't do something good enough. Yeah.
So wait, what does that look like as a 9?
Oh, man. When 9s are like, we want everybody to be very, very happy with each other. And our first defense is, they say that we want to get isolated because we couldn't get everybody to get along. We couldn't get everything right.
Okay.
But as a 9 to become, I say in a healthier 9 is if you had 10 people in a group, literally every part of my being wants to make sure each one is happy and go lucky. Seeing 2 or 3 people not get along is the hardest thing for me.
Breaks your heart.
Right?
Yeah.
It hurts. But now, since I've become more aware of who I am, I'm like, and I let go and release expectations off them, I go, it's part of their journey to grow and expand and find their life.
Yep.
And I have to take joy in that, that they are experiencing life to their fullest.
Yeah.
And I go, they are at peace. They're at peace with themselves, or they're going through a struggle to create peace. So I go,
ooh, they're going through a struggle to create peace. That's big.
like, that makes me feel good, and but that only came because I had to go hit rock bottom. And
absolutely.
In Chinese culture, and I mean Korean culture, they always say you have 3 big events in your life.
Yeah.
So I had Lyme, I've had surgery, and another thing I can talk about later.
Yeah.
Or talk another time.
Okay.
But I'm like, that's 3. I'm like this. I go, I don't want any more.
Do you get any more in Chinese culture or no?
I don't know. I hope not. I hope like, hey, what if I like open up a book and they're like,
so.
well, there's 15 more in this Chinese calendar year. And I'm like, you know what?
Oh, no.
But I think God smiles upon us when we go through those events that build our strength.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you, the more strength, the less shame. And so, gracious, this is so fun.
I know, right?
It's
I
so
love
good.
this. I love doing podcasts.
Oh, you're great at it. You're great at it.
Thank you. Well, and how have your needs been met, would you say, too? Which you're kind of already talking about, but...
yeah, and I say that
specific.
in one general aspect, like in my needs have been met, is the community of support.
So true.
I was so isolated. I made myself isolated.
Yeah.
That, for example, when I first started, I thought in the practice I was on my own. And then Blaze comes in and she's my assistant. And we start doing things and we see a culture and a community grow. And it makes me kind of feel like it wells me up a bit because you start seeing that people can be like-minded and that there are people now that will come work with us.
Yeah.
And I say this as a testament to living without trying to put on a facade. The more aware or the more open I can be, more people want to be around
100%.
the office.
Yeah.
And I don't say it's my personality at all. I think that people see honesty. Hopefully, that's what I want. And the community it's evident to me how God smiles on all of us.
Yeah.
That I actually have people that want to help me, not because they want self-gain. It's for the whole fact of perpetuating an energy of like we're in this together, and hopefully I can bring heaven on earth with you. That where energy goes, it's like we talk about going to heaven or being in the next realm. It's that you always want to think that you're going to be able to have a cup of coffee with the people you shared it with now and that you love with them. And so just support and help.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine now. Like I can't imagine doing anything without the people that are helping me now
100%.
and doing that in my life. And I hope that, you see that we want to help each other and everybody's got each other's back. I say the people who don't have your back, you may have to let go of some people.
You can live without them.
That's right. That's right. But that's how I feel.
Yeah. No, and I seriously, I get that around your culture too, because it's just, again, I mean, I talk about life when I'm there, and it's not like I'm going to a doctor. It's like I'm going to hang out with friends, essentially.
Yeah. I hope that's always the case. I think that when people come to the office, they'll, this is a funny story. Can I say? Okay, so we had gone to a birthday party, and my sister was saying that she saw one of the people that saw us at the birthday party, and at a coffee shop, and she literally was like, "Can I hang out with you guys?" And I was like, "I get." I didn't say it. I was like, "Sure," but I think we've met a lot of friends that like yourself that come in, and hopefully it's not a matter of feeling warm around somebody. I mean, it's you feel good, but you also say this. You go, well, there is a camaraderie and an energy that perpetuates each other. There's not a I'm going to drain you to the point to fill me up. Like there's 2 full cups. Or there
it's
could be
life-giving.
Exactly.
I love
There's
that
2
word.
half cups. I'm not trying to pull any of your from your cup. I just want us to perpetuate, and hopefully we'll fill each other's cup. And, and man, we do that. We do have fun at the office.
You guys do.
And we have hard days, really hard days with hard cases.
Yeah.
And days where we both, like all of us that are in the group, we look at each other and go, okay, got to go home and just sort of recap what life's about, Yes. But being in that community and having a constant reminder, like you have to allow that the childlike person in you come out.
Yeah.
You got to find people who will bring that out of you. So yeah.
Very special.
I'm so glad you're a part of it. I really am.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah. Well, so what would you say, who would you say is Chris Motley now that you've unlocked your freedom?
Oh.
The big question.
One of my mentor and his wife told me the other day, they said, well, you're different. And who am I now? I say this in all respect to myself. I'll talk about myself. I think that I don't have a high expectation of myself in a sense to meet the demand of another person. My expectation or my desire for me is to create truly, I say this a lot, a culture where money's not an option, or money's not the fervor. Money's not my desire. It's a great thing to have. It's a tool. But before, I would say I needed to get to a certain amount monetarily or relationship-wise. Now it literally is, who can I invest in and who can invest in me?
Ooh.
And I don't think I would have thought that way before, because when you're in a great set of friendships, leaders have to be, everybody's a leader in some way. You have to be a servant in some way.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of being a servant to feed into others because they feed into you is what I am now.
Okay.
I realize my investment is to serve so I can be fed, not off their energy, but fed in the sense that we grow together.
Yeah.
I would never have thought that way. I hope that made sense.
Well, it's like the whole thing, you're a vessel.
Yes. And before, I was always like, I have to work on my own and make it on my own because I got to show you that I can do this because I was, quote, smart in school.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I like to do this work because I can hang out with my friends and have fun and go on trips with them.
So cool.
That's who I am now.
Yeah.
Like before, I would never have thought that. If you asked me to work for a long period of time and say, like, why do you need to work? It's like, because I got to meet this. But now it's like, I want to do that because we can go on this trip.
Yeah, because it's like literally fun.
It's literally fun. It's literally the expression of the kid in you. And in all respect, it's like, but that's jumping into the river and just flowing. So I would never be with the flow before. Yeah. Now it's all about flow.
So you're a kid all over again.
Yeah, that's why you dance.
Yeah,
that's right.
Totally. What would you say is like maybe a, let's say, Bible verse or like a inspirational quote, maybe someone's story that you've heard that's really resonated with yours?
Oh, man. There's many scriptural verses that I really love. But hopefully it's not like... I hope it's not like a cliche or it gets off the beaten path. I know that, like what we say, like Christian belief is, and there's Buddhist and there's Muslim, and so I just say it from my own personal beliefs. Yeah. But I love the quote that Christ said. He goes, "I am in you, as I am in my Father." And if I'm in my Father is in you. Yep. And so there was that huge, like, call it the dichotomy, where to perceive that there could be a divine expression within you, and that divine expression literally says that God lives within you and can express himself within you, shows me that I don't use that wording, but to allow how God sees you to come through. And in scriptures always says like a little kid, like these little kids believe. They believe what? Believe that fullness of life, that heaven can be on earth, that I can live presently right here, right now. And that's what I'm saying. It's like you can experience heaven on earth. People say, well, you may never get there. That's the verse I quote all the time is God is in me. And so it's like I'm in God. And so that hits. And I also like, there's a great quote by a guy named Anthony DeMello.
Who's that?
He's a priest that he's an Indian from India, an Indian priest. And he talks about this one quote because it's about expectation. And he said, the world is okay because I'm okay, which basically means my perception of life is okay if everything inside is okay. So true. Right? If I think something is wrong is because that means there's a hindrance to my awareness of that portion of my life. He's like, absolutely. If you drop it, all the facade, and become more aware, it's like, I'm going to be okay. Yeah. The world looks that way. So it doesn't matter how many wars are going on and how many things in famine. I hate those things. Yeah, I do. But the world's okay because I can perceive that things inside are okay. Because you need people that can perpetuate love. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, those are my quotes. That's powerful. Okay. And then where can people find you on social media? Oh, goodness. Guys, here we go. Biggest question is at Dr. Motley, spelled out DOCTOR Motley, MOTLEY. Dr. Motley on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. So hit us up, give us some messages or get us some messages and just check us out. We really appreciate it. And truly, we are so thankful that people want to follow along in this path of journey, and we just give out information and hopefully people want to jump in. So it's been so cool to watch you guys grow. We've grown quite a bit. Hey, when you guys talk to Blaze or see Blaze talk, I can't take any credit for that. So she's crushing it. She crushes it, and I'm so thankful for her. Yeah. And I'd say that on any podcast that I think we're home team. I know we're home team. And, you guys are totally home team. So yeah, we keep it rolling. And I just tell this. I just want her to tell the stories about like when it started and how we created our own pattern. Yeah. But no matter how tired you are or how many hours you have to work that day, you're like, well, it's gonna be a time. Let's do it today. And you're like, okay. Yeah. But there's some fun and consistency. Totally. Right. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but that's how we've grown quite a bit. So I just say I thank everybody that comes in and follows and wants the information. So well, thanks for providing us with valuable content. Thank you for having me. It's such a blessing. You're so great. And you too. I like this podcast, but me too. But follow us, everyone. No, seriously, thank you so much for coming on though, because it's really cool to take our conversations at the office into a very focused one, because you're focused on adjusting my body while I'm relaxing essentially. So it's cool to have a really deep conversation and focus on that only. Yes, I think that one thing we've said this, and I think it could be a mantra for offices. We always want to have we call it true self, and because we see that the people who heal the best, heal the fastest in the office is when they hit their true self. Yeah. When they become aware of it, that they go, well, I'll let this energy of who I really want to be come out. And then they start to realize that I was just a person who walked beside them. Yep. The only thing I did was try to get them to see that person in themselves. It's like you open up the energy with the treatment to allow it to flow through, to allow the mind and the heart and the body to connect. Yeah. They start making decisions on their own. Oh, so true. That's why deep convo that way is really good. When we get into deep combo, you go, I'll take that small snippet of that truth in my life, not just for me, but when you realize it, that truth, I can perpetuate that. Instead of, I love supplements and things like that, but instead of saying well, you need to take this, this, and this, you're no, what can you do? Yeah. What can I help you see? Yeah. Honestly, one final story that I want to tell is I think it was the last time I was in, so a month ago, is that when you were there's something really tight inside your chest? Was that? I think that was the last time, and you pushed on it, and it hurt so freaking bad. I was honestly kind of in not excruciating pain, but I was in pain, and I was like, gosh, when is he gonna stop? But then I was like,
So what happened was like we kind of realized that there's a lot of like blockage in my heart that's like making it so my chest is super tight, and like there's a lot of unforgiveness in my life. And I'm not kidding you. Ever since then, I've healed like 4 major relationships in my life,
my
and
goodness,
it's just
good.
been like insane.
I'm so thankful.
And it goes to show like when you allow, whether it's God or someone else, like when you allow someone to speak truth into your life and just like heal you, and when you start receiving healing, I guess, in your life, you are going to start seeing change, and you are in control of that change.
That's exactly. I think that the part or the placement I have in somebody else's journey, like you just said, like, is you are supposed to be in a particular place at a certain time in your journey. And I love it when you say, like, there could be forgiveness, like pressing on the chest right around up here in the sternum. It's like, what's happening? Well, in Chinese medicine, for you, I'm talking about you, they call it the Shen, S-H-E-N. Okay. It's the mind. It's where it's stored and housed in the heart. They love the fact that you almost feel things in your heart before you actually think them.
Totally.
And you're a heart person.
Yeah.
So you have these feelings in your heart, and what happens is the literal circulation of blood, the pumping mechanism, the muscles, the nerves around the heart feel what other people feel, and then yet unforgiveness that just culminates slows your heart down.
Yes.
And all the areas around it gets tight, right?
Yeah.
So we release it, and you go like this. You go, well, I'm going to open up blood flow and open up electricity and open up flow of current. And what do? You go, well, now I've got enough energy to actually address the things that really were tearing me down.
Yeah. And now I know my throat's going to heal. So I'm expectant.
It's like this. And then you just start tearing down them layers.
Yeah.
I like that. That would sound so Southern, tearing down them layers.
Yeah, you do have somewhat of a
I do have some Southern. I'm telling you, I do. Oh, wow.
Southern Chinese over here.
That's right.
Or Southern Chinese, Korean, Japanese.
It's all coming into one.
All right, we're done with this podcast.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. If you want more life-giving conversations like what you heard today with the best guest, Dr. Motley, then you can go click the big red subscribe button and go follow me on Instagram. You're going to find some weird, wild, hopefully some inspirational content. It's The Rage Boss. We hope to see you guys next time. Till then, bye.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.